Well, hey there, happy innovators. How are y'all doing, huh? Are you enjoying your summer? Is it going by too fast? I kind of feel like mine is, but that's okay. I don't mind. Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, so I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention in this podcast today the passing of the drummer Joey Jordison from Slipknot fame, and just really sad to kind of hear about that, the fact that he was only 46 years old, and that he's gone already. It's pretty sad. I mean, I remember the first time I heard Slipknot, somebody that I knew had passed a CD along to me to listen to, and the very first time I ever heard Slipknot, I just thought to myself, like, this drumming is impossible. I mean, it's just absolutely astonishing what this guy is doing behind the drum set. Like, taking what Slayer had done, Dave Lombardo from Slayer had done, and just multiplying it by like 1 million, just speed metal, like on a whole different level. And I just remember being like really bummed out at how good it was, and just like, I will not be able to do that on my drums, And of course, that's not true. Anything is possible if you practice it. But oh my gosh, this guy was next level drumming, and everybody knows that now, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know already. But just trust me when I say that it's a great loss for that instrument, that the fact that he's not around anymore. He was that good. He really was that good, and that far ahead of the curve when it came to what he was doing. And I'm sure his memory will live on for a long time. So God rest his soul. Joey Jordison has died at the age of 46. Cause of death, I think, is still unknown at this time. But a sad day here for pipe choir. It's always sad when someone dies. Anyway, here's the deal. I got this song, okay? It's called Followers. That's what I called it. I wrote it a while ago, and it's the song that I've been working on for the past month and a half or 2 months. And it just is one of these things where it's driving me nuts, It's not coming together as quickly as I wanted it to. And therefore, it's taking me forever to release the next song. And right now I'm on that threshold of kind of like, okay, do I just not release that song and go with the next song that was in the sequence of songs on this album, The Wrench and the Rubicon? But, I do put a lot of thought and, effort into coming up with the right track list for my records, like what song I want next and like what I want it to be saying, So this song Followers is the right song in the sequence. It's the one that's supposed to come next. But I have just been trying every single idea that I could think of, to kind of like build this song up. I kind of took the original version of the song and I stripped it down to the bare bones tracks that I really wanted to keep. And then, through time and just, day by day, just like add new things. And, that's kind of like how my process is, actually. I guess I had never really talked about that, but it's what I do. It's how I do this. Like not like anyone really cares, but I guess I can just explain it anyway. Like I'll have an idea of a song, what I want to work on, and like I'll wake up in the morning and I'll just play a bunch of ideas like into the song, and like just whatever comes to mind, and then I'll go back later and I'll like edit a little bit, kind of move things around, listen to it again, clean up the tracks, get rid of all the artifacts and all that kind of stuff on the WAV files. And then at nighttime, I'll, listen to what I did during the day. And usually that's when I kind of know what's going to work and what isn't. And with this song Followers, it's just been day in and day out. Now, granted, there's been a lot of interruptions, because, truthfully, my wife and I have actually been doing a lot of traveling over the past month and a half, just doing a lot of different things. But I'll get to that in a minute. My point is that, I'm waiting for this song to like pop. I'm waiting for that moment when I add the right thing and I go, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. Like that sound or that guitar line or that keyboard line or, something like that. And it's just not happening. So, like I said, I'm at that point where it's like, do I just move on, and just forego having Followers be the next track on the album, or do I take the time and just get it right, And I don't know if you remember when I did that song, The Ocean of Regret. It took me like 2 or 3 months to get that song together, like to a finished state, ready for release, and it was worth it. When I listen to it now, I'm glad I took the time. So I guess I'm answering my own question, right? It's better to just stick with the sequence of songs that I had originally planned. Followers is next, finish Followers, and then as soon as Followers is finished and released, I have like 2 more songs that are pretty much ready to go. So right now, the only, clog in the pipe is Followers. But, like I said, I just really feel like that's the song that should be next. So there you go. Anyway, so what have you been doing this summer, huh? What have you been doing? I've been doing a lot of, making music and all that kind of stuff, but I've also been doing a lot of traveling. And not a lot of it was by choice, like we kind of had to. We had some family business to take care of out in Las Vegas, so we had to kind of, drop everything and, go out to Vegas for about 10 days. And it wasn't bad, it was kind of like each time I go to Las Vegas to visit is like a revelation. I come home with like a heightened awareness or a clearer picture of what's actually going on out there, out in the desert, with these people. And it's an interesting thing to think about, really, especially when you're there and you've been there a few times. I can honestly say I was taken aback a little bit by how much poverty there is in Las Vegas. Like, no one's really talking about it on the news or anything like that, but ever since COVID hit Las Vegas, there's like this wave of poverty that has struck that city. And I've been to Las Vegas, I think, a total of 3 or 4 times. And this last time we went, it was abundantly clear that that city is in trouble. There's a lot of poverty like that I saw that was not there any other time I'd been there. And I would imagine it's because of COVID. I don't know for sure, but that seems to be the consensus that, when they shut down a city like Las Vegas because of a pandemic, it does serious damage to their, economic situation. And, it's a city that relies on tourism and, people coming in and spending money and staying in hotels and eating at restaurants and all that kind of stuff. And over the past 1.5 or 2 years, it's been, kind of strangled. They are a mere fraction of what they used to be, and I think that they're in the process of like some kind of bounce back in Las Vegas like other cities are around the country, but it's so kind of depressing, really, to go to Las Vegas now and to see what's going on there and like what it's become. It's not too bad, the restaurants are still open. There's still a lot of people wearing masks and, worried about, being vaccinated and all that. But there were a lot of people who were just liberated, and you could tell that people like felt good to be taking their masks off, to be free. But yeah, it was an eye opener, and it was like this time around, like coming home on the flight, that was the kind of thinking that was in my mind, was like, wow, I just saw so many things, people living in the gutter, because they have nowhere to go. And of course the weather there is nice. It wasn't, it's not bitter cold or anything, but it is the desert, and it gets pretty hot during the day, obviously. And what was interesting was, while we were there, there was a lot of rain actually happening in the desert, which is something that I had never experienced before. And I'll tell you, it was quite remarkable to be in the desert setting with a rainstorm coming down. It was unusual, very unusual, but very pleasant, very, very pleasant and good, positive experience, So, yeah, we came home. Actually, when we were out there in Las Vegas, my wife had made a point of telling me that she wanted to go see this one thing they have out in the desert in Las Vegas. It's like a sculpture. I think they call it Seven Mountains. I think that's what it's called. And basically what it is like this area out in the middle of nowhere, like out in the middle of the desert, like nothing around, and they have these gigantic stones. I mean, they are massive stones, and they are stacked on top of each other. And there's 7 of these rock formations, like these stacks of rocks, in this one particular area of the desert, and the rocks are painted like really bright and vivid day glow colors, and it's just a sculpture, it's just this weird thing, out there in the desert. And my wife was like, oh, I want to go see that this time. I'm like, okay, so we jumped in the car, and it was so cool, like, because we're not from there, so when we go to Las Vegas, we're usually like in the city. That's where my wife's family lived and lives. And so we're actually like near the Strip, the Las Vegas Strip, when we go there. So very seldom do we ever really get a chance to go out to the desert where there's nothing in sight, And this sculpture thing that we went and checked out kind of afforded us that opportunity to go check it out, so we did. And there are all these people there. It was so wild. Like, you're driving down this dirt road, this desert road with nothing in sight, no cars or anything. You're just kind of driving down the road. And then all of a sudden you're there, and there's all these cars and all these people out in the middle of nowhere, on just like a random day, So my wife and I hung out there for a while, and I actually had started to try to videotape myself out there, and put it in as part of this podcast, but it just didn't really seem to be going well. It was like it wasn't set up right, and the feeling wasn't right, but we were enjoying ourselves anyway, checking out these sculptures, these 7 mountains. But it was pretty cool, really, to be out in the middle of nowhere, like the middle of nowhere, man. You look around and all you see is, flat desert and mountains off in the distance, and any which way you look. And we went there like at sunset, so the sun was just doing incredible colors like across the sky, and there was all these weird and interesting people that were all there, and we were kind of like talking, and it's an interesting thing because it's people that I've never seen before and I'll never see again, but we're all there at that moment, at that time, in that same space, just kind of enjoying this sculpture and talking and everything, and one by one we all get in our cars and drive away, and that's it. So it's an interesting kind of exchange, and kind of like this interesting kind of like randomness to all of it, but it was really cool. Actually, we also my wife and I, we went and checked out this place. We had kind of made a pact between ourselves, like we were going to do this summer. We were going to go to the Cryptozoology Museum in Portland, Maine. And in case you don't know what cryptozoology is, what I'll do is I'll get my handy dandy dictionary and we'll check it out. Okay, so I got my handy dandy dictionary here, my new Oxford American Dictionary. Bump the microphone. Just kind of got my handy dandy book here. It's a thick book, a heavy book, and a reliable source of information for quite some time. And so let's see. Cryptozoology, spelled Cryptozoology. Cryptozoology. And cryptozoology is, by definition, the search for and study of animals whose existence or survival is disputed or unsubstantiated, such as the Loch Ness Monster and the Yeti, which is funny because they actually put Yeti in the definition. But my wife and I, for the past year or so, have been on this Sasquatch kick, okay? And it's just one of those things, it just makes us laugh, and we have fun with it. But there's like this part of us that kind of believes it, or wants to believe in it. And actually, with something like Sasquatch, it's not that difficult to believe that something like that might exist, right? Because, there was this prehistoric creature referred to as Gigantopithecus, I think the name was, and it looks like Sasquatch. They believe that this creature existed, so I don't know. It's just fun, and it's also interesting, intriguing, and a little bit weird, a little bit spooky. But they have this museum in Portland, Maine, called the Cryptozoology Museum, and it's this building just devoted to things like the Loch Ness Monster, Dogman, Yeti, Sasquatch, any of these animals that are purported to exist by people who claim to have witnessed them, but they technically are not showing up like on the record as animals that exist, that really exist. So like you'll have something like Sasquatch and Loch Ness Monster, but you also have these animals like the coelacanth, which was a prehistoric fish they had thought to be extinct. But here it turns out that a few years back, somebody actually found one alive. So while the coelacanth was considered to be an animal of like legend, or not really based in reality, at least not in modern reality, there you go. Someone yanks one out of the ocean or something, and they, turns out they still live. They actually exist. And so you gotta kind of wonder sometimes, with this idea of cryptozoology, it's spooky and weird and all that kind of stuff, like entertaining and fun, but it's also pretty interesting. And the place that we went to, this cryptozoology museum, it was okay. It was okay. It was a little bit lame because they don't allow you to take photographs inside the museum, because there's like copyrighted, information or photos or something. They're protecting it. It's so stupid. It's like I'm in a building with weird stuff in it and I have a camera and I can't take pictures. Get out of here. And I paid to be here. I thought that was pretty lame. And, because of COVID and a lot of the problems that places have been having with shipping and all that kind of stuff, their t-shirt selection and their stickers and all that kind of stuff was kind of limited. And really, if you think about it, when you go to a cryptozoology museum, what else are you going to do there, right? Aren't you going to take, or want to take a sticker home or a t-shirt, like to say you were there, And their selection was just so poor and so thinned out, and they hadn't replenished their supplies in probably a year, and whatever, but we still had a good time, and it was just a really funny thing to do on a Tuesday afternoon or something, just go out to the cryptozoology museum and look at all the evidence, about the Loch Ness monster, or the dog man, and all that kind of stuff. Actually, they had in this cryptozoology museum, they had a real life sized, estimated size dog man, like mannequin or puppet or whatever you'd call it. And man, I'll tell you what, out of all the things I saw in that cryptozoology museum, including like the life-sized Sasquatch they have, and the Bigfoot footprints, and there's been like a lot of stuff, especially where I live, like in New England. There's a lot of these animals that people claim to see, out in the wilderness of Massachusetts, because there's a lot of that here. People don't realize that, but in Massachusetts, there's a lot of woods, a lot of forest area, and there's all these claims of seeing these different things, and they had all those represented in this cryptozoology museum. But the one of the dog man, like this life-size replica statue type mannequin thing of this dog man, oh my gosh, it stuck out in my mind. It was like, that was really weird, like to look at. It was gigantic. And it's one thing to hear the stories and stuff like that, but when you see something like, a mock-up made of what people have described with Dogman, it's pretty creepy to look at. Like if it were alive and moving around, like it was alive and coming after you, it would be a pretty freaked out experience, but it was a lot of fun. Great way to spend an afternoon, and then I guess we did also go to this exhibit that was at a church nearby us. It was the Shroud of Turin exhibit that they travel around with, and it's just kind of is like a presentation of all of the things, the evidence, and all that kind of stuff around the Shroud of Turin, which, if you're not familiar with that, it is or purported to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ, and it's just a fascinating rabbit hole to go down, and in my opinion, I believe that it is photographic evidence. I do believe that. That when you look at the shroud, you are actually looking at a photograph of Jesus Christ, not only the man, but like at the moment of resurrection. Like where you're looking at that exact moment, a flash of energy, putting this image onto this cloth. And, a lot of people don't believe it. A lot of people think it's fake. They go, oh, it's carbon dated and it's proven to be a hoax. And, oh, yeah, whatever. It's like everybody, there's, when it comes to something like the Shroud of Turin, and whether it's true or not, or real or not, there's been a fight over that long before anybody found the shroud. So, it doesn't mean anything to me. Of course, there's going to be people who disagree, but, I think it's real. And I think it's fascinating to look at, because when you do look at it, the Shroud of Turin, the burial cloth of Jesus, when you're looking at it, it's pretty fascinating and pretty mind-blowing to consider what you might be looking at, And if you ever get the chance, I recommend you go down that rabbit hole, because it's pretty cool. And my wife and I went and we checked out this exhibit, and it was cool. It was like, another thing that we did this summer. We have a couple more things on the list. I'll probably talk about those in later podcasts when we actually, go out and do it, go out and do them. But there's like one or two more things on our list, our punch list for the summer of 2021. And, we should probably try to get it in quickly before, COVID sets in again. Because I don't know about you guys, but I kind of sense that, they're going to try to get that thing going again, get that COVID machine turned on and going full tilt boogie, once again, just in time for the school year to start, right? Wonderful, fantastic. It sounds like a great time, Anyway, so aside from COVID and all that stupid stuff, well, I guess it does apply to this a little bit, but my wife has kind of gotten me watching, really kind of for the most part, at least originally against my wishes, really. We've been tuning into the Olympics in Tokyo. And normally I don't really pay any attention to any of that stuff. Usually I'm busy doing something with music. I'm like all of my life. And I might tune in a little bit to watch some special event with the Olympics, over the past 50 years. But for the most part, it never really interested me until now. Okay? And, or maybe over the past 10 years, I really kind of have watched for the first time Olympic events, and my wife is really into that kind of thing. So, naturally, a lot of the time when she's watching something on television, I wind up watching it too. And, it's probably the only way that I would really tune in and pay attention to that, as if I was forced to by someone else. And it's fascinating. I gotta say, I'm glad for it. I'm glad that I'm watching it and paying attention to it, and I'm able to see this thing we know as the Olympics, through the eyes of somebody who's older. It's hard to explain, but hold on, let me get a sip of my coffee. I suggest if you have a cup of coffee that you go right ahead and take a sip as well. So hang on. Oh man. Woo. Good coffee this morning. All right. Wow. Woo. Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Olympics. So I'm watching these different events, not just the really exciting ones like gymnastics and skating and skiing, or not just gymnastics and tumbling and all that kind of stuff. I'm watching everything, the air rifle competition, the compound bow competition, and just bicycling, skateboarding, surfing, all these different sports, these different events. And it's fascinating to watch the Olympics because, there's a lot of talk, especially now, like by people like Joe Rogan, that he'll make comments about how the human brain is like a chimpanzee brain, like we're this like low functioning animal. But it's like, if he wants to think that way, that's fine. But I would suggest, okay, that before he says that ever again, that he watches the, synchronized high diving at the Olympics. This is not something that, chimpanzees can do, and you watch these, track and field athletes, with the shot put in the, the different relay races and hurdles and all that kind of stuff. It's like to watch these athletes that are really, I guess there's the expression, par excellence. It's a term that I like to use a lot, or at least I think about a lot, when it comes to pretty much anything in life, and par excellence. Let's see. Well, I got my handy dandy dictionary here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll find the definition for par excellence. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Par excellence. PAREXCELLENCE. Par excellence. It's an adjective. It means better or more than all others of the same kind. So, when you watch somebody like Michael Jordan playing basketball, it's, basketball being played par excellence. He's better than most others, right? Let me close my dictionary again without hitting the microphone. So, when you watch the Olympics, it's really something to think about. No matter what the event is, when you're watching the Olympics, you're really kind of seeing something being done par excellence. Like, these are the people that are doing this thing better than everyone else can, and that's why they're chosen to go there and compete, and it may not seem like a big deal to a lot of people. There's a lot of other things to be worried about in the world or whatever. But to me, I think I kind of have a new appreciation for that kind of thing, especially since I've started to get into like hockey, the sport of hockey, because, when you see these hockey players and, their level of athleticism, it's not completely separate from artistry, or like being a musician or something. It's not really that different, like it's like anything else in life like that, where, it's this singular focus on something, like let's say you're a violin player. Your singular focus in your life is the violin, playing the violin, getting better at the violin, playing the violin for a profession, making your living playing the violin. So it's like everything in your life is geared around this instrument and you playing this instrument. Well, the same goes for like a sport, or like really pretty much anything else. Gaming, people who do gaming, it's like that becomes their whole life. That's it. There is nothing else. There can be nothing else, because in order to get to the top, you have to have this focus, and you have to know what you want, and you have to be willing, and like you have to have the desire to put in the time and the effort and the practice, and when everybody else is out having fun, you're inside doing the thing, focused, practicing again, getting better, doing what you're supposed to do in order to get to the next level. And there's something really, to me anyway, there's something really beautiful about that idea, And when you think about it, it's pretty damn cool. It's pretty damn cool. Like, you watch those gymnasts that are doing like those floor routines, like that Simone Biles, she got disqualified or whatever happened. But, like somebody on that level doing that kind of thing is fascinating, like with the hockey players I was talking about. Like, in order for a hockey player to rise to the level of the NHL, it requires the effort of everyone in their family. It's not just them. Like, they need the support of their parents and their brothers and sisters in order to compete, just in order to compete as a hockey player, and let alone make it your profession and do it for the rest of your life. It's really, when you think about that, like, behind every athlete that you see, professional athlete, there is a whole world behind them, a whole story, of long hours. It can be no other way. Like, it doesn't come easy. And so, when I watch hockey, it's just like, I'm like fascinated that human beings can move like that on ice skates. Okay, that's like one layer of the fascination of hockey. But then to handle the puck a certain way with the stick, and to be able to do that while you're skating backwards, it's like, it's crazy. It's easy to take it for granted when you're watching it because it's going so fast, but oh my gosh, the level of skill and the amount of time it must take to get to that level. And that's true for anything in life, anything that somebody chooses to do. Stock car racing, parachuting, parasailing, kayaking. I mean, if that's what you're focused on, if that's what you want to do, I want to be a professional kayaker. Is that what they're called? I guess that's what they're called. Like, I want to be an Olympic level kayak guy. Well, if you want to be an Olympic level anything, you're going to have to devote every single waking moment of your life to doing that one thing, just in order to even be able to compete with the up and coming, or the amateurs. Like, you have to, just to make it to the bottom levels, you have to be devoted 100%. So that's really, when I watch the Olympics or something like that, or sports of any kind, that's really, like, as I've gotten older, that's what it's become, is this new understanding of like what you're actually watching happen. Like, when you're watching an Olympic bobsled team, do you have any idea how much time and energy and money and years have gone into that single thing you're watching? There's a saying in like theater, with plays or with rock concerts and stuff, like, the audience comes and they see the show, and the show might last an hour and a half or 2 hours or something. And the audience comes, they watch the performance, then they go home. But what they don't see are the weeks and months and hour after hour, day after day of practice and rehearsal, all the time that goes into that performance. So yeah, the hour and a half, 2 hours is enjoyable and all that, but there's so much behind what you're seeing. It's probably something that we should kind of like take through life with us when it comes to anything. Like, when you see something being presented to you, no matter what it is, it could be anything, a painting, a sculpture, a song, a sporting event, a cooking show, anything like that, a news report. anything that you see like that, it comes and goes very quickly for you as the observer. But if you could see the hours, if you could see the energy and the time that went into just presenting what you saw, it'd probably blow your mind. It's cool to think about. And like I said, probably something that you can carry with you anywhere you go in life. Like, no matter what you look at, when you look at somebody, you kind of have to look at them a little bit longer, maybe, and really think about what you're seeing. And like, behind each person, there is an ocean of time and experiences, and good and bad, and mistakes and successes and failures, and friends and enemies. And there's behind each and every person that you see. Now granted, it does seem sometimes that some people are smarter than others. I can't deny that, but that's okay. That's okay. We need smart folks, and we need dumb folks, and we need all that. Everybody has something to contribute. Everybody has a story to tell, and when you look at somebody long enough, you just might see some of their humanity. You start to realize that, or maybe not. Maybe you don't, maybe it's just me. I don't know. But to me, it's like, back to this thing about the Olympics, that idea of being devoted to a purpose. I guess, I saw not too long ago, there was a film I watched, and there was a line in that movie where they were talking about the meaning of life, and it was summed up like this: like, the meaning of life is like free will while moving towards or away from a purpose. Free will while moving towards or away from a purpose. Now think about that. Isn't that really the essence, like the basic essence of our lives? That's what our lives are. We have free will, we can choose, while moving towards or away from our purpose. Obviously, if you're moving towards your purpose, that's positive, and if you're moving away from your purpose, not so positive. So there's a little bit of a philosophical nugget for you to take with you today. Free will while moving towards or away from a purpose. Pretty cool. And that's really, when we talk about these athletes and we talk about all that kind of stuff, it's really, I think, that's really the essence of what we're talking about. You have these people who devote their lives to what they do. It doesn't have to be a sporting event. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't have to be anything even tangible. It could be economics. You've devoted your life to economics. And there are some people that are like that. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they were called to do. And that's what they did. While all their friends were out having fun, they were home doing the thing. Or they were at the place doing the thing, getting better at what they did. And I don't know, there's something about that that's just fascinating to me. Really is. And, I can kind of say, I guess, in a way, that I'm kind of proud a little bit that, like, I can say that I've done that. Like, I've had something like that in my life that mattered really pretty much more than anything else did. I never wanted to do anything else or be anything else. I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was very young. That's pretty cool, And I had support. I didn't have as much support as I probably needed or probably could have used, but I did have enough to get me through and get me to where I'm at right now, So, it wasn't all bad either. You know what I mean? It's like, if you enjoy what you're doing enough, it doesn't matter what it is. If you enjoy doing it enough, it's never really work. I mean, it's just what you do. It's what you do. I mean, for me, that's how it is. And I think it's that way for my wife, too. With her job and like what she does. She's been that person her whole life, you know. She gets paid for it and all that, but she was always that even before she went to college. I mean, she was a teacher. She was an educator. She was an academic. Those people have a calling, you know, much like anything else. Sports, music, you know, religion. They get called to be teaching people things. That's what they do. They have the desire and the ability to impart information onto other people or to other people. They communicate information to other people. That's what they do. That's the essence of teaching, is, you know, imparting knowledge, right? So, it's just kind of cool. I'm proud of the fact that, you know, both myself and my wife, like we both have that in our lives. We were given that, you know, by osmosis, you know, without asking for it. Is a gift that we were given. Like, you know, I saw in a movie just not too long ago, they were talking about in this film how everybody has a gift. You know, every single human being that's ever lived is born with a gift of some kind. And, you know, I've been thinking about that. Is that true? You know, is that true? Are all people born with a gift? And I would imagine it probably is. And the real tragedy with that is that, you know, most people never really get the opportunity to find what that gift is, or they don't get the opportunity to, you know, grow and embellish that gift that they've been given. They don't get to use it, you know, because they're busy doing something else. Again, you know, the whole idea of moving towards or away from your purpose, you know. It's a really kind of large thing to think about. It's big, you know, in your life, in your mind, right now, sitting in your chair. Think about that. Are you, okay, the happy innovator that's listening to this podcast right now, can you say honestly to yourself, okay, that you are moving towards your purpose in life, or are you moving away from your purpose in life? That's a pretty hardcore question to ask, and an even more hardcore question to answer. But I can say, I think when I look at my life, I would say that for the most part, I have always been moving towards my purpose, you know? Like with the music thing, for me, it was always kind of like separate from my life, you know? The music was always different. Like it was its own thing. And like what I might find enjoyable or whatever, what I might find acceptable in my life, I may not find it acceptable in the realm of my music. My music was different and it was separate to me, you know? I treated it that way. It was like very serious. It was never a joke, you know? I was never going to be one of those bands that makes like goofy songs, you know, about food and like, you know, just silly stuff like singing about the party or something. Like, I'm not going to do that. It's like it was always different, you know? Do you know what I mean? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You know, it's like when you're somebody who's, you know, trying to be creative pretty much all the time, you know, you sort that kind of stuff out really quick. You know, like you know, when you are young, you know, and you start out, when you know what you want to do, and I can speak from experience because I was a little kid when the music bug bit me, you know, And it wasn't just the music thing. I think it was like the art thing, the idea of expression, like you probably know what I'm talking about because you're probably very similar, like you get inspired or you get moved by things you see and hear. When you see that somebody has put effort and energy into communicating an idea to you, it's exciting, and the natural response is to do the same thing. It's like we are a tribe of people, on this planet, the people that, they call creatives. And, nowadays it's like this big deal to be creative and inspired and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I hear that kind of talk and I just want to like start slapping people on the head, It's like, oh, shut up about being creative and, oh, I'm so creative and inspired and you inspire me, all that kind of stupid, it's like, oh, don't talk about it, don't say it, but here I go, but it's true. It's a weird path, right? And, I hear so much about it now. It's like the coolest thing you could be is a creative person right now, like on the internet, the zeitgeist, the things that people talk about and the things that are honored and praised. It's all about art, communication, talent, America's Got Talent, all that kind of stuff, it's like, oh, I don't know. It drives me nuts to think about that stuff sometimes. It's like, oh, do we really need to talk about it? Really? But I don't know. I guess we do. Here I am. I'm a hypocrite. Yeah, pretty much. That's how it goes. That's the human condition. Okay, so anyway, I have one more thing I want to talk about today. A nice little kind of warm and fuzzy, touchy-feely little thing I want to talk about before I sign off for the day and get to work on, that song Followers or the next song. I'm not sure. I'll figure that out after this podcast is edited and everything. But, my wife does this thing. I wanted to talk about this because I think it's important. Okay. My wife does this thing sometimes when we're watching television. She'll walk past me, to go to the kitchen or to go somewhere, and she'll stop where I'm at and she'll just start kissing my face, for no reason and without any warning or anything. I'll just be sitting there watching television or laying down on the couch, kind of like sprawled out watching TV, and she'll come along and she'll just start kissing my face. And I don't mean on the lips, okay? I mean my face and my forehead, my temples, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, my chin, my cheeks, my jaw, my ears. And, these really soft, like butterfly kisses, And I know this sounds funny to talk about. It sounds like, aw, aw, how cute, But I wanted to talk about it because I think there's something very, very powerful in that, There's something about getting your face kissed. It's not sexual or romantic or anything like that. It's primal. There's something about that notion of that place on your body that's usually very personal, like your face is not something that people are allowed to really touch very much. It's not acceptable behavior to go around touching people's faces. But when you're intimate with someone and they're allowed to touch your face whenever they want, and they're allowed to be intimate with you, like they're allowed to kiss your face. Not only are they allowed to touch your face, they're allowed to kiss your face. It's such a weird kind of thing that happens, at least for me, like in my brain. You know, I feel kind of like, you know, like I go kind of like numb. You know what I mean? Like I instantly relax. There's something about that idea of having your face kissed that just immediately disarms you. You know, you become like, you know, those cats, like those kittens, when you pick them up by the scruff of their neck, they go limp because that's how their mother carried them. So they like instinctively know to just relax. As soon as you grab a cat by the scruff of their neck and you pick them up, they immediately go into like kitten mode and they go limp and their head goes down because that's how their mother carried them, you know? Well, getting those face kisses is a lot like that, at least for me. And I just kind of wonder, is it like that for other people, you know? And do you even think about that, you know? Like when you're with somebody that you love, do you ever just do that? Do you ever just like for no reason, really, just grab them and kiss them? Kiss their face, you know? What a amazingly beautiful thing to do, you know? It's so simple, it's so basic, it's so arbitrary, at least it seems that way, but I swear to you, there's something that happens on a very primal level when we allow someone to kiss our face. You know, to get that intimate and that close to us as animals, as the human animal or whatever, as humans, you know, allowing somebody into your space like that, you know, it's not to be taken for granted. And it's also not to be talked about for hours and hours, but it's like, I'm going to sign off now, but I want you to think about that. That idea of the people around you, you know, the people that you love, you know, maybe your children, you know, do you ever just, for no reason, do you ever just grab them and just start kissing their face because you just love them so much? And I guess that's the feeling I get, like when my wife does that. Like she does it all the time, you know, like it's just something that when we're watching television and I hear her getting up, I know that I'm about to get this love attack from my wife, you know, and that's really what it's like. It sounds so corny to talk about it out loud, but I don't know. I think it's important, you know. There's something there. It makes me feel loved, you know. And that's kind of a beautiful thing. You know, feeling loved is a beautiful thing. And it's not to be taken for granted. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of lonely people out there in the world, you know. And, oh boy, you know, when we went to Las Vegas, I saw a whole lot of people who really are kind of hanging by a thread, you know. And here I am, you know, laying on my couch getting my face kissed by a beautiful woman who loves me, you know. So I guess the moral of the story here, the message for today is try to observe and be par excellence, right? But also don't forget the face kisses, you know. If you got somebody around you that you love right now, just for no reason, just go over to them and just start kissing their face. You know, it's pretty amazing feeling. Long live the face kiss. And with that, my happy innovators, I'm going to sign off right now for the 99th Singularity Podcast. And, you know, coming up soon is the 100 episode, the 100th episode of the Singularity Podcast. And, I promise you, I'll have something, at least something interesting for you that's a little bit different from what I usually do. Okay? And wish me luck on this Followers song that I'm working on. And that decision will be made today, right after I get done doing this. So peace out, everybody. And with that, this is Mike Bostwick from Pipe Choir Records signing off. And remember, folks, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. And don't forget those face kisses. Peace out, everybody. Take it easy. Okay, happy innovators, the ones that are brave enough to stick around to the end of the podcast for some music. I've got a song for you today, and it's a song called Sansis FM. It's a song that I am particularly proud of. You know, when I listen to it now, and I was even when I was making the song, when I was writing it and recording it. And it was done at a time when I was really starting to hit my stride. At least I felt I was, with this whole recording process and the technology that I was working with. And, you know, it was kind of one of those songs that came along right when it was like the culmination of a lot of different bits of information and technology and ideas and things that had come together. And then I sat down to make this song, and when I listen to it now, it's kind of cool because I hear a lot of things happening in this song, these ideas that I had, and I remember having them, you know, so it's, it's exciting to listen to and to remember, you know, how much creativity was going into it at that time, and how I was really kind of having a very comfortable creativity flow. You know, it was just coming out, and when I hear it, it's apparent to me. And it's like a parade, the song, like when I press play from the beginning of the song to the end, it's like a parade of these different ideas that I had, and I can hear them all being executed as the song plays, and to this day. So check it out. This is again Sansis FM. It's actually named after a relative of mine's cat. Believe it or not, my aunt had two cats. One was named Sansis and one was named Nico. Nico and Sansis, these two Siamese cats. And I don't know, the names just always kind of stuck with me. They stuck in my mind. And, this message in the song was kind of like, not necessarily related to the idea of those cats, but more like the feeling and the sentiment of the people that were around those cats at that time that I was writing the song. So, there was a little bit of petty animus at the time the song was being recorded, and so therefore I included in the title as a clue, the name of this cat, and it's funny how that kind of thing works, but I don't know. Basically, it just boils down to I liked using those names, Nico and Sansis. Actually, I do have a song called Nico FM. So there was Sansis FM by Pipe Choir, and there was also Nico FM by Pipe Choir. And the Nico FM didn't come out so good. And it's one of those tracks that I have where I kind of listen to it now, and I think I should probably go back and take another swing at that. But it's just like never happened, for one reason or another. Anyway, I digress. Here we go. Sansis FM, circa probably 2007, 2008. And right when I was getting ready to release the Pipe Choir debut album, and the song was included on that, so check it out. Peace out, everybody. Have fun, be safe, and I'll talk to you in the next episode, episode 100 of the Singularity Podcast. We're finally gonna get there. Peace out, everybody. Take it easy.